Welcome back, everybody. Today I have for you a brand new device that has taken me quite a few months to develop. Alright, over there I have for you a Shulker reader and repacker. So basically, this device over there takes a Shulker filled with items, each item representing 4 bits of information, reads it out, and repacks it back in the exact same order. Alright? So the thing about doing this is that, as you can see over here, I have a whole bunch of unique items. But if I don't actually have unique items, let's say I have 4 white concrete in a row, and I read it one by one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I put it back into the Shulker box. 1, 2, 3, 4. It stacks together. In this scenario, everything is still fine because you still have 4 white concrete and then 1 yellow. But what happens if you have white and then you have orange? So it's white, orange, white, white. What's going to happen is, as you read white, orange, white, white, so white, orange, white, white, and now you want to repack it, white, orange, white, white, the white has stacked together, meaning that you have lost data. So what's going to end up happening is you're going to have all your whites in one spot, all your oranges in one spot, and all your yellows in one spot. So that's obviously an extremely bad thing. And that means that in order for a device like this to work, for you to store information back into the Shulker box, you can't store it from front to back. Instead, you actually have to store it from back to front. Alright, so I just have a few Shulker box going through the steps of basically what this device does. Right, so first of all, you start off with what I would call a sacrificial Shulker box. So each of the stone blocks here have been named 1 to 27. So what you're going to do is that you have a stone that's 1, you run it over an item filter, and you get rid of the 1. So now there's an empty slot there, and then you're going to put the item that you want into that spot. So in this case, it's an emerald block, and then you're going to remove the next names stone block, and then after that you're going to put in the next item. So a great thing about this is that even if you have the exact same item, actually need a hopper, I can't shift click it in. But if I do that, the items do not stack. So that means I could have a shulker box full of the exact same items or any combination of items, and it will still maintain the order it was as it entered the system. The downside being is that you can only have 27 items in a single shulker box. But that doesn't really matter because with each item being 4 bits, one minecart full of shulker box filled with items each gives you 364.5 bytes. That means that if you take one minecart and multiply it by 3, you have approximately 1 kilobyte of storage in what is slightly more than 2 blocks of space. So this is potentially the most dense data storage possible in Minecraft. So over here, I actually have 4 bits per item, but this system allows you to expand to, let's say, 8 bits. Unfortunately, the delay between each, sorry, not the delay, the latency between the start and end, sorry, the start of the operation and you getting the result out is exponential. So every time you add one more bit, your latency doubles. So that is why I've maintained it as 4 bits, where each uh, each nibble, which is equivalent to 4 bits of information, is represented by one color of concrete. And on top of that, you also have the option of putting other blocks over inside. But what's going to happen is that these items will go into an overflow and then ends up back into the shulker box. Um, so basically, that means that you can have space between your nibbles of information, or you can have a single shulker box feeding into different readers and having different results. So one reader might take only concrete, another reader might only take terracotta, but since everything is stored in the same shulker box, you're still gonna get the same. Sorry, you're still gonna have it working fine regardless of which reader it goes into. You just have it slightly different bits of information from one to the other. So right now I'm going to just do a run through of how this works. It's quite a complicated device that has taken me, I would say, about 8 months to develop because it's quite feisty. There are a lot of different problems that could potentially arise when designing something like this. I've tried to address as many of the problems as I can, but I'll just quickly go through how everything works. So first of all, I'm just gonna let everything run through with a single type. So I shall go through. So over here, it's going to count from white to green back down to white. So white 9, 10, 14. So it counts from 0 to 13 back down to 0. Alright, so I'm just going to fill this entire minecart full. And another thing that I did not show in the earlier part of the video is that you can actually have multiple minecarts stacked above each other. So I can send this, and then I can send another one. Both of them will travel up here and they'll stack onto each other. Alright, so what's going to happen is that this shulker box is going to, this minecart is going to be emptied of shulker boxes. Once it's emptied, I just have a falling edge detector that reads off the hopper down here. But there's a hopper there. And once the minecart is empty, it just pushes it onto this track and down to a minecart reservoir. Anyway, one thing that's a requirement of the system is that it has a clock in. So the thing about it is that I designed this for computational Minecraft. So that means that everything needs to be as predictable as possible. So if you need the results of this system to be run at 8 game ticks, 8 redstone ticks, it will be able to run at 8 redstone ticks and more. but the minimum time, the minimum clock speed you can enter in is 4 redstone ticks. This is not accounting for the delay between each shulker box and each minecart. So for every item inside shulker box, it will run at clock speed, but when it switches over to the next shulker box, it will ignore a few clocks, and every time it switches between minecarts, it might ignore a few clocks. However, I actually have an output clock. So basically what I would recommend is that you have a overall clock. So if you have a computer or whatever, you just have a timing clock coming in, and then after that you run your entire system off the clock out here. Anyway, so this Shulkerbox Unloader is a heavily modified Samus the Sage Shulkerbox Unloader. So basically, because I wanted a variable speed unloader, I had to add this gray circuit here, and then after that, whenever an item gets sent through, the brown circuit gets activated. So 27 items in the shulker box, this redstone line here gets powered 27 times. Anyway, so if you look into the shulker box, the first item has been pulled out into this hopper, and it will remain in the hopper until it receives a clock. So right now, when I hit that, so the clock is 1 redstone tick signal, but if you send a 2 redstone tick signal, then just get rid of this repeater. It's going to send the item through this line of droppers, and below this line of droppers are item filters that will check the item. And then what's going to happen is that it goes into an encoder. So because you cannot check items in a dropper over item filters instantly all at once, you have to delay each filter by 1 redstone tick. So that means your output is also going to be delayed by 1 redstone tick. So if the item comes in, so let's say white concrete comes in, this output is going to be 1 redstone tick slow. So to accommodate for that, you delay the one on the right by 1 redstone tick, so both of them are synced. So this system here, this encoder, actually delays everything by 1 redstone tick the further right it is. So if you look over here, the observers are snaking up and down, up and down, up and down. So what's going to happen is that so I actually have a delay. So this is 2, this is 1, so that the synchronization is okay for a 2 white slice. And then after what's going to happen is then you have a 2 delay here again, and another 2 delay, but it's a 2 delay per 2 blocks. So everything evens out, and then you get your output. So you have your clock, and then you have your first bit, second bit, third bit, fourth bit. Alright, so let's just take a quick look. So the item goes through, it's a 0, and then you just, so because it's the first item is a white concrete, you have output of 0, and then you just have a clock. Right, and every time I hit the clock, the next item goes through, so now it's going to be a 1. And then what I can just do is I can just turn on the clock and everything will start to work. So it's now counting up, and then it's going to count down, back and forth. So anyway, the item filter here actually has an additional item here. So whenever the item filter is activated, it just pushes that item into a lower dropper line, goes all the way here, right? So the dropper line feeds into this barrel. As you can see, the items are just going through, and then what's going to happen is that any items that do not match the item filters will go through this dropper line here into the barrel at the exact same time. So regardless of which item it is, which item comes in, whether it goes through the filter or doesn't go through the filter, it enters the barrel at the exact same time, and it's going to go down into this pink circuit here, which is what I would call a stepper circuit. So the thing about it is that because you are filling a shulker box from back to front, you need to invert the direction of the items. So what's going to happen is that I'm filling the shulker box from here on, from here all the way to there. So the first item actually needs to be there and the last item needs to be here. So every time the item comes in, it gets shifted by 1, and then the next item comes in, it gets shifted by 1. So the first item will be here and it gets moved over here, and the second item is here. So then after that, everything gets shifted all the way. And that means that if I, for some reason, have a shulker box that has, let's say, only 15 items, this device only shifts it forward by 15 times and everything will still be fine. It'll just be that the first few slots of the shulker box will be empty, and it can handle that. Though it cannot handle a continuous supply of partially full shulker box. I'll explain later why that's important. But anyway, another thing to take note is that the reader runs at 4 redstone ticks. However, the repacker runs at 7 redstone ticks. So that means that the repacker can't keep up unless you repack multiple shulker boxes at once, which is what this device does. So by the time the second shulker box comes in, which will come in over here, the first shulker box will be about somewhere here. So one very important thing to consider when you're doing something like that is that if you drop the items from the stepper circuit down to the repacking circuit at the exact same time, you're going to eventually have 2 items in the last slice constantly. So that would mean that the items from your first shulker box and your second shulker box will get mixed together. So it is extremely important to delay the step. So over here you have the system running at 4 redstone ticks, but if you look over here, the stepper circuit is delayed by each slice by 3 redstone ticks. So it's the same whether it's on this side or on that side, it's just flipped. So yeah, I'm just powering every other slice on this side, and the other side is staggered by 1. So basically the item comes in, and after that it gets shifted over, and then the new item comes in to this slice while the first item is on this slice, and everything is slightly delayed. So that allows me to drop the items in a delayed fashion too. So now for the delay circuit, the thing about it is that you need to know when you drop the items down. So using the Samus the Sage's unloader, this redstone wire here gets powered twice. So that for every shulker box when the shulker box is empty. As you can see, it just powered twice. So I just have a T flip-flop over here that provides a 1-tick pulse going down over here. And basically what that allows me, another thing that it allows me to do is that I can actually add more item filters if I wanted to. I will just have to shift this portion further back. So I can add in, let's say for some reason I wanted 20 item filters. So I can have 20 data items basically. Anyway, the signal comes in here to this brown circuit here. Okay, this brown circuit here. And for the stepper circuit, both droppers are activated at the same time in the appropriate order. So it fires this one and then this one. However, for the dropping part, so when you want to drop the items down, it only powers 1 dropper. So the item remains in this dropper, and when the item is in this dropper, it gets sucked up by this hopper down into the repacking circuit over here. Alright, so for the repacking circuit, I'll just move over to this 2 white slice. So this device is a pseudo 1 white tileable because each slice is actually inverted, and then what you're going to have is that you're also going to have different combinations of either activator rails or powered rails. So technically there are 4 slices, but they're all basically the same. with slight differences. So anyway, what's how this repacking circuit works is, first of all, you have a dispenser with a shulker box. So this shulker box is this dispenser is actually supposed to be here, but I'm just pushing it one block back so it's easier to see. So the first thing that happens is that this dispenser gets powered, puts the shulker box down, the item filter pulls an item out. So this item filter works on slot reservation basically. So it's not like a smart system. So what's going to happen is that I put one item in, and then once the entire operation is done, I send the minecart through that pulls one item out. So pulls one item out and it remains at 35 again. So if you ever make a mistake and items start going in, additional shulker box whatever just comes in, you need to double check to make sure that your filters still have space or there are still items inside your filter. Anyway, so the item gets pulled out. Next, what's going to happen is this dropper is going to get activated to push the item into the shulker box, and then the piston fires. And when a shulker box gets broken by a piston, it has slight upwards momentum that allows it to jump the half block onto the stairs here. So the reason why I use stairs is that because I have a one wide alternating tolerable slice, items could potentially jump over to the other slice, but because I use stairs, the side of the stairs actually blocks the item, so I'm going over to the other side. I've tried different blocks. I've tried honey, I've tried anvils, trapdoors, cobwebs, whole bunch of stuff. The only thing that really seems to work 100% of the time are stairs. Trapdoors work about 99% of the time, but fails after a while. And when the system fails, it fails catastrophically, where a whole bunch of things basically fall apart and you need to purge the entire system. In fact, I'll teach you how to purge the system later on. But anyway, let's get on to it. So anyway, when the shulker box is broken, it flies up onto this stair, into this dropper, hopper, and lands in this dropper. And then the cycle starts again. So this time you power from the dropper here, and then instantly into this dispenser, which then fires it onto the next slice. So that's basically how the repacking circuit works. And what's going to happen is that the items are going to go into the last minecart chest. So as you can see, the entire system has been running continuously. Thing to take note is that, so all of these are dispensers except the last one, which has to be a dropper. So it feeds into the minecart chest. And once the minecart chest is, actually not when the minecart chest is full, but once this minecart chest is empty, so I take a signal, where do I take the signal? Oh, sorry, from here. Once the minecart, oh wait, where do I? Oh wait, yeah. So I take a signal from this redstone block here, and when you're switching minecarts, there is a there is a delay that allows me to have another falling edge detector coming into here, which feeds all the way there, and everything is timed perfectly. So it comes out here to this brown line here, powers this piston, and what's going to happen is it's going to push the minecart onto this track all the way down to your exit point here. So so that is the repacking part. So now to talk about the sacrificial shulker boxes. So the thing about it is that I've designed this system to have a I wanted it to be a renewable system. Basically, I don't want to have a player have to come in and manually put in sacrificial shulker boxes or anything like that. So basically, once operation is done, wait, is that? Oh, it's empty. Okay, I'm gonna actually need to run it to show you what is going on. So once the operation is done, it's going to send a minecart down here, and it's going to pick up all the items from 27 all the way to 1. And so once it's here, once it's taken the items out, it comes into here, which is it unloads the minecart of items, and I just have a falling edge detector. And when there are no more items in the hopper here and the shulker box, it will push the empty minecart down to this line, and it's gonna go back into the reservoir there. The shulker box over here is gonna break, and it's gonna power this dispenser, which puts a new empty shulker box over there. So this system here is fed empty shulker boxes all the way from here. So when the unloader empties the shulker boxes, it pushes the item down in here, gets powered. This dropper gets powered, goes all the way down here. Over here, it's fed into there. So the system should be fully running now, and you just saw that basically the minecarts traded places. However, you can actually stack, I think two minecarts over here. So basically, because I put a half slab here, only one minecart is ever unloaded at once, so things don't mess up basically. I did the same thing when I put a half slab at the initial unloader over there. So everything here is perfectly timed, so but it requires that shulker box is full of 27 items for it to be perfectly timed. And there's always at least one minecart over here with one minecart over here in the reservoir. This system can handle few item shulker boxes, but I think the minimum is 3 items. I can't remember exactly, because this device has taken a very long time to build and very long time to test. But basically it can handle a few shulker boxes filled with partially full shulker boxes. However, the rejuvenation system here, which is the green circuit, cannot keep up. So I would recommend that all your minecarts be full of 27 items. I think that is basically it. Yeah. So a thing about this is that because of the clock signal input, you can actually stop the operation at any point in time and it'll still work fine. So right now it has stopped over here. So the item is just waiting for the next pulse, and basically everything is predictable. So the time you get your output signal is the difference in time from your input clock to your output signal is exactly the same regardless of how long your delay is or when you put your minecart in. So you just need to make sure that your minecart is already in position before you send your first clock in. So also another thing to take note is that it's not really unload safe. It can cause problems, and one of the ways to figure out if a problem has been caused is that if this barrel starts getting filled with items, because there are only 27 slices in the stepper circuit. If the timing starts to get screwed up for whatever reason, this barrel will start getting filled up. So you can just take a comparator signal out from here, and you can use this to force stop your clock signal. Also, another thing to take note is that the clock signal, you cannot leave the clock signal on. It has to be a pulse, because if you leave the clock signal on, what's going to happen is that this hopper here will open up continuously, and then you have a problem. Anyway, to purge the entire system, there are multiple places where you need to purge. So first of all, you have the item filters over here. So first thing you do is you actually remove, so you remove all the empty shulker boxes from, all the, wrong side. So it gets a bit confusing at times. So you you either block the hopper or you remove all the shulker boxes over here, and you also remove all the sacrificial shulker boxes over there. And once that is empty, you will want to purge the the item filter and the stepper circuit and the repacking circuit. So what you're gonna do is that you're just gonna put a clock somewhere here that pushes all the item out into here, and then what's gonna happen is that this signal is also gonna be powering the stepper circuit, so the stepper circuit will also get cleared, and then you just need another clock signal over here on this brown line to run the repacking circuit until it's cleared. Once that is done, you just need to manually come in and check whether there's any space inside the item filter hoppers over here, and that's basically how you purge it. This is basically it. So I had many different prototypes. I wasn't sure whether it was even possible to have it one byte tolerable at first, but over time, as I've designed this, I've encountered basically all the problems I could potentially think of, and problems that I didn't even know could exist. And this is what I would call the first version. In any future versions, I hope to limit the amount of requirements so I could hopefully run empty shulker boxes through. It'll still be fine, or like one item shulker boxes through. I could potentially have minecarts that are empty. Also, another thing to take note is that the shulker boxes do not maintain any names or colors. It is a general shulker box. So that means that whatever shulker box I put in, so this is just the unpainted, unnamed shulker box, is I'm going to get the same thing out. Because the reservoir over here, so when it is empty, it just comes into here. So whatever, if you put in named shulker boxes or painted shulker boxes, it just gets cycled into the system again. So you can't do that. You also can't have named minecarts because it just has minecart reservoir here. Again, the clock signal, the maximum you can run it is 4 redstone ticks, but your output will not necessarily be 4 redstone ticks on average, basically. So between each nibble of data, you have 4 redstone ticks or your clock input. However, there will be gaps. So from your last item in the shulker box to the first item in the next shulker box, there will be a gap, and there will be a gap between minecarts. So yeah, thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Yeah, remember to stay zen, guys. Bye.